The strategies and concepts discussed are for educational purposes only and do not represent specific investment, tax, or estate planning advice. Investing carries an inherent element of risk, and it is possible to lose principal and interest when investing in securities. No strategy can guarantee a profit or prevent against a loss. The views expressed represent the personal opinions of the presenter or featured guests, not necessarily those of USA Financial or its affiliated subsidiaries. Any opinions or forecasting statements are subject to change at any time and without notice. John Cindia is an investment advisor representative of, and advisory services are offered through USA Financial Securities Corp., member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Life Stages Advisory, Dean and Remington are not affiliated with USA Financial Securities. Welcome to the 28th episode of WTF, Wealth, Taxes, and Finances. I'm your host, John Cindia, certified public accountant, personal financial specialist. I have Dean and Remington in again today.
Hello. How you doing?
Anyway, today we're going to talk a little bit about starting to emerge from the COVID situation. We spoke about it a few episodes back of coping with it, and now since things are starting to open up, here in Ohio, they have gone from outdoor dining to now just opening the restaurants up, and they're still trying to maintain distances and that. And not all the restaurants are open yet. And I think part of what we have to realize that things will get back to a normal, but I don't believe it's going to be back to the old normal. Okay? There's going to be a new normal that we will get used to, and we will come back. But you have to understand there's a big disconnect right now between the economy and the stock market. Stock market shot straight up. Economy's doing okay, but they haven't incorporated all of the people that are not working. We hit 42.5 million unemployed. We had 2.5 million come back about a week ago. So that's in about 8 to 10 weeks, we've had 40 million net new unemployed. If you add about another 10 or 15 million that haven't been working for a year and a half, you've got close to a third of the workforce that's out of work.
Wow.
Okay, and that's from every facet. That's industrial, that's service businesses, manufacturing, everything you can think of. And I think what we have to realize is that when you incorporate that and the earnings, some of the earnings have come in. Other companies are still looking to report their earnings. While they've been weak and down for the most part, anywhere from 7 to 10, 15%, depending on the industry and the sector that we're talking about, those haven't impacted the stock market yet. And everything's been motivated by how soon are they going to get a vaccine. Mm-hmm. And that's what's been pushing this. Well, what pushed it down the other day was the fact that we might not be getting a vaccine as soon as everybody thought they were going to get one. So since it's so fluid, the problem I have is saying, okay, where are we and what should we be doing? We talked before about getting rid of bad habits.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that, whatever you were spending before, and if you are working, then how has this impacted you? I know we're down, I say we're down about 20, 25%, but those people just haven't come in yet between taxes and some of the financial stuff that we've done usually on a seasonal basis. And I've looked around to some of my colleagues, I've looked around the United States and everything, and that's pretty much common. So I think a lot of people are still waiting till that July 15th deadline to come in. And some people are still being very, very cautious about going out into public. And while I can understand that, I think the people that are most at a situation that they have to become more cautious is someone that has some type of pre-existing condition. If you're pretty healthy, I think you can go out and about and, you might still wear your mask or whatever.
Yeah, as long as you're far enough away from other people. Common sense with everything going on.
We can't be afraid of going out and, doing what we were, normally be doing. But as we've been open the whole time, it was up to the clients to come in. Most of them dropped things off, mailed them, emailed them to us. We had a drop box out front. We had masks on for the first part of that, and then when they opened it up, we stopped the masks. If the clients wanted to come in, that's up to them. But we've been a fairly close group that we really haven't been exposed to a lot, and our whole area really hasn't. So I think it's depending on the locale and everything from that aspect. But beyond that, I think, what have you done, or have you started to change anything, Rem? And then we'll get over to Dean during this part. What are the bad habits that you did have, and say, hey, we may need to cut back on a few things or whatever, because there could be a second surge of this, like you're talking about in the fall. And if that's the case, there could be unemployment again. And whether or not you're receiving benefits or not, or they're delayed, people are having a cash flow crunches here.
Right.
And a lot of things have to change.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was actually kind of thankful for being able to work at home is that every day in the office, we would all just go out for lunch or get like DoorDash or anything to deliver to us. And you never really realize how much that costs until you don't do it for a month. And I realized, I'm like, wow, I still have like a couple $100 here. What changed? And I realized, I wasn't running across the street getting a sub every single day, dropping $6, $7, sometimes $10 every day. And then there's just a bunch of other simple things, like I wasn't driving as much, so wasn't spending all that money on gas. We weren't really going out and doing a whole lot. So in general, it was just a lot of cutting back on things that at the time I was like, oh, well, I have the money, I can go do it. I might be a little strapped, but I'm not going to be like in like panic mode. And realizing that now, like I was at work the other day, I'm like, I don't need to go out to lunch. I packed my own food. I'm saving a lot more money. I'm just a lot more aware of that now. And just in general, my saving habits, I've gotten a lot better with all that.
How about you, Dean?
Yeah, I've been pretty much the same as Rem, like not spending a whole lot of money on going out to eat food, because like him at work, it was the same thing every single day. We go out and get pizza, we go get subs, we go get burgers, whatever. So saving that money on food was nice. Not having to drive to work every day, not having to drive out and grab food, because that's what I did a lot. So saving that money on gas. I've kind of felt like I've had a little bit more time. I think that's been the big thing for me. You don't realize how much time you spend, getting ready for work in the morning and commuting, and then returning home from work. And I've noticed I've had like a substantial amount of time more in my morning,
right?
Along with in the afternoon, because work starts at 9, ends at 5, and that's it. It's all at your house, so it's easy. So I've noticed I've had a lot more time to myself.
Have you noticed, either one of you, from working at home, have you put in, there's reports and stuff of saying that there's more productivity by the people. Are you being more productive in less hours, or are you being more productive with the same hours?
Well, with kind of how my company has structured things, I mean, I just do like accounting stuff, but some of the other brokers there, they have like certain metrics they have to hit, and they were definitely ramping up the productivity on like getting all this revenue coming in, but there was a somewhat substantial drop in like the call time and the number of dials they were making. But at the same time, you had people that were comfortable at home. It wasn't a stressful environment where they felt like they were being constantly watched. So they were like more relaxed, more comfortable, and they were bringing in a lot more revenue than if they were in the office. And a lot of them were doing it, like you said, in a lot shorter of a span. So it wasn't like they brought in $5,000 over the course of like 2 weeks. It was like, 3-4 days. They reach out to all their customers, and it was like a more personal like conversation. It's like, I'm just chilling at home. I've got Netflix on in the background. I've got my coffee. Got my dog sitting over here. I'm productive but comfortable, and it definitely, for me included, it made me more happy to work. If that makes any sense, it just made it more of a better experience than sitting in the office having the terrible office coffee and all that stuff. But I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. How about you, Dean?
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a at home kind of guy.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it until
Really?
because at first I was like, I don't want to. I was an office person
Oh,
before,
okay.
and then after working from home, I noticed, like you had mentioned, a little more productivity. I felt a lot more focused. Group of people that I work with were pretty close, so we would go off on tangents and stuff, and things would not necessarily, we wouldn't be missing deadlines and stuff, but kind of get to the point where you feel like you're wasting time a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So those conversations are missing, so it's kind of sad, but at the same time, more work's getting done in a less amount of time. So, some days it's kind of like, I don't really have a whole lot of stuff to work on right now. I've gotten everything done for the day. So getting things done and not dragging things out, I think that's the biggest thing for everything going forward. Is it kind of comes around to do I really need to work 8 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
I'm wasting all my time here at the office. I could get everything done in 6 hours.
Oh yeah.
And, and if that means, a pay cut for whatever means, because
Right.
I'm using less company time, whatever it is, but getting things done faster than I should be.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm working from home and I'm less distracted.
Yeah. And I think a lot of this hasn't been, I guess, elicited verbally at this point. I'm just starting to see some things that I was thinking about a couple of months ago with on the news, in some articles and that, about talking about the downsizing or the right sizing again. I'm thinking that a lot of the companies are going to be there. I think commercial real estate in the long run is going to, I don't know if it's going to take a huge hit. I think it's going to take a hit because if 80 to 90% of some of these companies have their employees currently working from home, I think they're going to maintain that, and that's going to have a lot of different effects. That they won't need the space in some of these buildings. They'll be saving rent. The employees, they won't have to, I think it's going to be a deflationary thing on wages that if they're paying them X dollars, they can pay them X minus from working at home because it's going to be a benefit for the employees. They're not going to have to be commuting. They won't be spending that money, like you mentioned, Rem, about
won't have to pay those astronomically large parking fees.
Yeah, exactly. So there's going to be a lot of savings at the corporate level, and they're going to pass those down, and I think they're going to turn around then and take advantage of it, and particularly thinking about areas similar to Silicon Valley. If they're paying these huge payrolls because someone has to live in that area, and now all of a sudden they can do it distantly, they could hire somebody with lower wages in a state like Arkansas or Idaho or New Mexico.
South Dakota guys.
South Dakota, they could do whatever. And I think that they can pay them higher wages than their local, but it's going to be much lower than that area at Silicon. So there could be hits taken out on the real estate side there, some different jobs moving around. So we have to look at this as it emerges and try and think about how that's going to impact everything and where it's going to lead to. That's what's got me that I've been thinking about. And then, so, you're looking at wages, you're looking at, transportation. How's that going to affect the automobile industry? Because if you're working from home, you're not going to have to commute. Do you need 2 or 3 cars? Can you get down with 1 or 2 cars? So we might be getting back to that. Or do you need any cars at all if you're, on an inner city and you can take cabs or you can take Uber, or you can take something like that, or you can walk from the neighborhood sides. So I think there's going to be a compression of some of these activities, some of the monies, some of the way people are living, the conditions and things like that. And I think that just extrapolates into everything else. So while you need to not necessarily cut back, but watch your savings at this point, also try to be cognizant of, where's this all going to be heading? If there's going to be a compression on wages, how is that going to affect current people with mortgages or rents? So I think, all of this has to come down to some type of a deflationary side that we addressed a little bit in that American Jubilee situation a few episodes ago. So this hasn't played out yet, and I think there's going to still be some pullback in this market when it gets to realize that we haven't taken everything into consideration. Is there anything else that you guys were thinking about that may be beneficial for the audience out here? I know that the savings we're talking about, different aspects of just lowering expenses, trying to almost right size your own cash flow at home and everything.
Well, definitely one of the main things I was thinking of is if you're realizing that, wow, I've got all these great habits that I've started developing from being kind of quarantined, don't go out as soon as everything opens back up again and just be like, all right, well, now I've got all this money again. Oh, I'm going to go get pizza every night this week just because I can.
Mm-hmm.
Or, ooh, now I'm going to go get that car, or I'm going to go drop all this money because things are open and I want to boost everything back up. But at the same time, like if something were to happen, like you said, like if in the fall we do, I don't think it will, but if we close back down again and you blew through all your savings that you built up, what are you going to do?
Like some of these people are getting more on unemployment with the federal subsidy than what they were making.
Right.
Some of these people could be making, and one of my clients had mentioned that their daughter had actually been making almost $1,000 a week when she was used to making about $600-700 a week. So, even though that's only going to be for about a 16-week period, I think on the federal subsidy, that's still the equivalent of a lot more money.
Oh, yeah.
And it could have possibly been saved or paid other debts down or something like that.
And
hopefully took advantage of it.
I think they also, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they've put a few things in place to where when things open back up again and you are fully able to go back into the workforce and you, again, they can't force you to go, but if for some reason you're still collecting that unemployment when you could be working, I think they're looking into some sort of punishment or fine or some legal action. So if you are in that situation where you're making more on unemployment and you're just thinking, I'm going to let this ride, and you end up being forced to go back to work to avoid all that legal trouble, you should be prepared to go back to what you were making. You should definitely think about that now. Start mapping your finances out ahead of time.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's going to be interesting here when this plays out. Dean, did you have anything else to add to that?
Oh, I got nothing else. You guys got it, huh?
Yeah. We got it covered, huh? Well, this will probably be a little bit shorter episode, but we want to thank everybody again for staying with us. And we're next couple episodes, we're going to have Danielle back that was with us here a few episodes ago, an attorney with Krugliak Wilkins locally here, dealing with estate and long-term care matters. So we're going to get a little bit more into the meat of what we discussed before. So again, if you have any ideas or any things that you'd like to know more about, send us an email at jcindia@lifestagesadvisory.com, and we'll make sure we incorporate it into one of our future episodes. So until then, like us, love us, do whatever you can, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks.